Alright, welcome back. So, here we go. We are here to talk today about the title tool as well as the slip and slide trim functions. So, before I get into the title tool, and you might want to skip ahead, I'm going to go into the slip and slide versions of editing briefly now. So, just in a nutshell, you can drag your cursor from in this ether zone and lasso from right to left and lasso the clip that you want to affect. So I lassoed all of these. I want to deselect V1 because I don't want to affect these bottom clips. I just want to affect this V2 clip. Now here we can right click and we can choose select slip trim or select slide trim. Let's start with the slip trim. Now on slip trim you can see there are these cursors on the inside of the clip. If you select slide trim, the rollers will be on the outside of the clip. So also I have this white trim function. I've deselected these trim functions just so it doesn't get confusing for you. Okay, so now that what did I select? I selected slip trim, and now you can see I have 4 monitors going on here. So this clip is the last frame from the preceding clip. This clip is the first frame on the adjoining clip, or this after. These two represent the in and the out of this clip. So what we can now do is that with this slip trim, if we highlight one of the rollers and get this white roller, remember we've turned off these ones, we can now click and drag to the right and choose a different in and out point. So you can see the cursors are moving. And this means that your in and outs have changed. Now I'm 23 frames to the right. Or if I want to, this hasn't moved this clip. What it's moved is the content of this clip. So maybe I didn't like this part before. Maybe I want to change, but I don't want to affect the duration of the shot in the movie. So again, I can just click. Maybe I go back to, I don't know, I want to start with the first frame of this clip, seeing her in the frame. Maybe that's the first frame I want it to be on. And this last frame, okay, I'm okay with that. So now to exit, say that I've got everything I wanted. We've moved with this and we've gotten the new in and out. It hasn't moved anywhere on the timeline. To get out, all I have to do is simply click on the timeline ruler, and now we're out of it. So the first frame should be her looking in the mirror, like we saw. Boom! And that is now the new first frame. Okay, so that's the slip function. Now for the slide function. So I lasso from right to left. I'll deselect V1, make sure I'm only affecting the clip that I want to. Right click and choose select slide trim. And now the rollers have been highlighted on the outside of the clip. Now this allows us to move this clip somewhere else on the timeline. So I can take this, click, drag, and now I can move the clip. Maybe I want to move it to the left, just to cover this edit here. And now it has slid, or it slides over the clip into a new position. Okay, and then again to get out, we're right here. So excellent. Now we've got this empty spot. Control Z to undo. Control Z. All right, and G to clear the marks, to get rid of the marks. Okay. So now that's the slip and slide function. Now let's get into the actual title tool. Okay, so let's find a frame where we can work on this. So title tool. Title tool. If you're wondering, I help out a youth program for kids on Tuesday nights and help them shoot this. Okay, so title tool. First I will go into titles and leaders. I want this bin to be open. I'm going to save my title here later. Alright, so now I go to Tools, Title Tool Application. So now it's kind of opening up a sub-program within this program. Avid is a big program. So select Title Tool Persist? No. I only want to go Title Tool. Titler Pro and Marquee are kind of like motion designer programs, but in this case, for your time at Capilano, I'm going to teach you After Effects, which is a little bit more intense. So we're just going to bypass Marquee and Titler Pro altogether. Title Tool for now, though. And here we are in the Title Tool. Okay, so Title Tool, it's a pretty simplistic program, but let's go through it from start to finish. Alright, so here's your selection tool. Let's start with some simple text. Now, I'll put dog, day, afternoon. Random text. Now, mine's pretty funky. I've already been playing with it a little bit, but here's the deal. So, wait, I'll just put these all back to normal. And I'll just make a new one. I choose my text. Dog, day, afternoon. Can't even spell dog. Alright, cool. Now, that's my text. I choose my selection tool, and I put it over here. Cool. Now, it's got out everything going funky right now, so I'm just going to do something here. There we go. Oops. There. Come on, guys. This one, my border. There. And my drop shadow. Okay, so this is kind of what you should be seeing. What's going on here? My drop shadow. Put this to 0. There. You should be seeing this. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's say we want to have a drop shadow and a border happening. I want to address all this stuff. So, what we have to do, let's say first we want to make the text blue. Okay, so we highlight our text. That is highlighted. And using the fill command, you can now choose a blue color. All right. So now it's made blue. You can also choose to play around with the transparency of the text. As you can see, I'm going to put that back though. Oops, I got to highlight it first. You always have to highlight it first to make the adjustments take effect. Okay. So then, if you want to give it a shadow, this is the shadow icon. So I can click, drag out. You can see a drop shadow appear. So now, check that out. You can now have a drop shadow. So that's obviously not what I want. I highlight it. I will make the shadow black. Alright, let's take a look. Alright, there we got a nice drop shadow. We can also do something else. We can make it a depth shadow. So you see how that shadow now has depth to it? And you can decide how long you want that to be. Maybe you want a really long one, or maybe you want a really short one. Again, you'll have to highlight it, and maybe we can go the other way, depending on what you want, just to show you. There you go. Okay, so that's the shadow. Now, what if we want to give it a little bit of a border? So let's give it a little bit of a funky magenta kind of neon pink border. Now, here's the thing. Look, it doesn't come up by a border, so we actually have to highlight it and go here to the border width tool. So I'll choose a smaller border. Alright, there we go. Now we have the border with the fill, shadow, and the border icons altered. And again, this has to do with your transparency, and this is kind of how it blends and whatnot. We won't get too much into that today, as it's not really needed. Okay, so now we can highlight it. Moving over to the left, we can deal with the kerning. Kerning has to do with the space between the letters. Alright, or you can make it tight, or you can type in a value. Another way of thinking about your text is also the leading. So, or leading, I guess is the correct term. Leading has to do, if the other one, kerning is the space between the letters, leading is the space between the lines. So that's between the y-axis. All right, so that's cool. Now we can also highlight the text, and you see when I choose my icon, you see those points. This is what we call the bounding box. All right, so now my bounding box has my text justified to the left automatically. If I choose the center, now it will be justified in the center of this bounding box, not in terms of the frame. Or you can justify it to the left. And that's what these buttons do. Moving over, we have the video background. We can turn this off if we want to have just a solid background, black background. We can also choose to make the background whatever we want. So we could have this as our title. I'm going to put that back to video for now. So it's basically making the background transparent. Here, so maybe we have a line. So we can make a line underneath the text. And we can choose if we want a big line. All right. We can also choose if we want that line to have arrows, or maybe one big fat arrow. Either way, that's up to you to decide what you want, and you can use this fill again to kind of decide how you want to place it. Also, you might have you can use your square or circle tool, and you can make this kind of plate, I guess, or the square, and down here you can choose how you want it to be beveled. You can have nice rounded edges, or you can have jagged edges. I'll go with the rounded. So now it's in front of my text. So I want to send it behind the text. So I can come up to alignment, and I can say, not alignment, sorry, object, and I'll say send to the back. All right, so now I have a little bit of a background plate to it, and I can, again, reconfigure all of this and choose how I want it to be. Okay, cool. So now I can choose to save the title as, so Avid's going to ask me where I save it, and it's going to look at the bins. What bins do I have open? And that's why previously I opened my titles and leaders bin. So I'll save it there. I'll save it to my hard drive or my external hard drive. If yours is not plugged in, you won't be able to see it in this list. And then, what resolution? Do not pick 36. Do not pick 80. At Film School, 115 is kind of okay. When you get into higher end cameras like Reds or whatnot, 17X, 175X, 175 are pretty darn good for that. For us in first and maybe even second year, DNxHD 115 is a very good codec. And then you could just press save. Alright, so now you have your title there. Excellent. Styles and templates, these are, so maybe we like this style and we could save it for use later on. I won't get into that for today. Same thing with templates. These are things that automatically help with, kind of like presets, I guess. Alright, what else do we have here? Object, I showed you, bring to front, send to back, bring forward, send backward. Alright. Safe title area, global grid. Again, this shows you like what is 16 by 9, because remember, some people are still watching on their old aspect ratio 4 by 3. And if you don't know what aspect ratio is, do a quick YouTube search. It's kind of like people using those old, almost square TVs. And when they were using those old square TVs, this would allow us to be like, oh, okay, I know my title will be seen here. But if the title goes off over here, they might not see the A. Or on those old TVs, they might not see the D, O, and all of that. So this way, I know that I'm within the safe action lines of those old TVs. All right. Alignment, you can center in the frame. This is kind of, center in the frame vertically. So this has to do more with how it is the frame, not the bounding box. So for those of you familiar with Premiere, this is your, center and frame horizontally, as well as center and frame vertically. All right, cool. So now that you've got that, we can save it out. It's all been saved. And I close it up. Okay, cool. It's creating it. And so there. Now, I'm just moving my bin over. This is the bin. I can just double click on it. And here it is. I make an endpoint. Pressing I. And then I hit my plus key. And let's have a 5-second title. I press 4:23. That'll give me 4 seconds and 23 frames. I press enter, and it moves my blue playhead to the 5-second mark. I press O, so now I have my in mark, my out mark. Now I press escape, so now it's looking at my timeline. And now I can, let's put the edit here. I'll press I to make an endpoint on my timeline. And I only want to affect the top track. So I don't want to affect V2, that's where my footage is. So I'll go on to V4, deselect, and now this is plugged in to V4. It's going to overwrite my time code, but for teaching purposes, I'll just press V to overwrite. And now I have my title. And again, using this, I'll highlight this. I can use my head fade and tail fade. Tail fade's a little too long. Just my head fade for now. So now the title fades in. If I put my tail fade on, there we go. Actually, it's not so bad. Fades out. All right, so that's one thing. Hold on, there's more to do. There's end credits. I got to show you this just quickly. So what if I want this to be like a ending credit sort of deal? All right, so bear with me, guys. Here's our title. I go press Alt, and I double click on it. It'll ask me promote, and I'm like, nope, don't promote it. I want to work in Title Tool. Now, here's the cool thing. If I press roll, now it's going to roll the credits from bottom to the top. If I press crawl, it'll make it go from left to right. So I'm going to just choose roll. And then I close it, save it. I'll call this rolling end credit. All right, created a new one. Now, here's my roll. Check this out. It starts totally, there's nothing there. It comes on and rolls off. Okay, so let's find a new spot just so we don't mess around with our old thing. Yeah, okay, I'll put it over this little thing here. Good. All right, we have our sad dude. I'm going to add a quick video track. Add video track. Video track, so I have a V5. I'll put V1, so now we're going to write over top of everything. And make my in point, make my out point, and right here I'll make my in point, and I'll overwrite. Now, the problem is, okay, it rolls, but it's too long, right? Too long, I can't do that. So what you can do is, you can just trim it, so it's very fast, just over our clip. Actually, it was over this clip. There we go. So now, it should just roll up and over the clip. Oops. I'll mute everything. These kids made a music video. Oh yeah, it doesn't play while you play it. You have to scrub through it and render it. Okay, so we see that it's rolling, but again, look, if I press the space button, I don't see anything. I have my monitor there, so it's on the right track. When I don't press the space bar, it works. So what you have to do is that this is kind of like an effect. So I make an in point, out point, and I go render into out. It's got one effect. That's the rolling title effect. It needs to actually render it out so it can play back in normal time. So now that it's rendered, I'll play back. And now we have our rolling credit. So you can do that for crawl, you can do that for roll, and just remember, if you're having trouble seeing your titles, you're going to need to do a render into out or render at position, because it's considered an effect. And if you want to go back into update and edit the effect, again, just press Alt or Option on the Mac and double click on it, and it'll take you back into Title Tool. Anyway, I hope this helps you out, and that is it for Slip and Slide and titling in Avid. End recording.